What if I told you that one of the most iconic American coins carries a mystery that has fascinated collectors for nearly a century? The 1937 Buffalo nickel, a coin born in the Great Depression that hides both beauty and error, worth thousands of dollars today. Stay tuned, because this legendary coin might be sitting unnoticed in your collection, and it could change your life. The story of the Buffalo nickel, also known as the Indian head nickel, is one of the most remarkable chapters in American coinage history. It begins in the early 20th century when the United States sought to create coinage that reflected the heritage, culture, and identity of the nation. Unlike the earlier Liberty head designs, the Buffalo nickel introduced a bold vision crafted by sculptor James Earl Fraser, a student of the famous Augustus St. Gaudens, who himself had revolutionized American coin design. Fraser wanted to capture the rugged spirit of the American frontier and the enduring image of Native Americans and the great American bison, and so in 1913, the Buffalo nickel was born. The design featured on the obverse a Native American profile, strong, weathered, and deeply detailed. Fraser stated that this portrait was not of a single person, but rather a composite of several Native leaders who had modeled for him, including Irontail, a chief of the Lakota Sioux, Two Moons, a Cheyenne chief, and possibly Chief John Bigtree of the Seneca tribe. This profile stood as a tribute to the first Americans, to their dignity and strength in the face of history. On the reverse of the coin, Fraser placed the American bison, an animal that symbolized the untamed West power and endurance. The model for the buffalo was said to be Black Diamond, a bison from the Central Park Zoo in New York. Though there is some debate about whether Fraser used other specimens. From its first release in 1913, the Buffalo nickel became an instant icon, but it was also plagued with challenges. The design, though beautiful, wore down quickly, and circulation details, such as the date and the lettering, would fade, making it difficult to identify the coin over time. Still, the coin remained in production. From 1913 until 1938, a run of 25 years, that saw the United States through periods of prosperity and hardship. By 1937, the Buffalo nickel had been circulating for nearly a quarter century. America at this time was still struggling with the effects of the Great Depression. Millions of people were unemployed, breadlines were long, and economic confidence was shaken. Yet the coinage of the nation continued to flow through the hands of ordinary citizens every day, and among them the Buffalo nickel stood out for its distinctive design. The 1937 issue was struck at 3 different mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Each mint producing coins that collectors today examine for rarity, condition, and errors. The most famous of all Buffalo nickels is connected to the year 1937. It is the legendary 1937 D three-legged buffalo nickel. This coin arose from an accident at the Denver Mint. During the die polishing process, a mint worker overpolished one of the reverse dies, and in doing so he accidentally removed the front leg of the buffalo on the coin. As a result, coins struck from this die show a bison that appears to stand on only 3 legs. This error went unnoticed for some time, and the coins entered circulation just like any other nickel. It was only later that collectors discovered the mistake, and the 1937 D three-legged buffalo became one of the most famous and sought-after errors in all of numismatics. The three-legged buffalo is fascinating not only for its rarity, but for what it represents. It shows how even in the highly controlled environment of a government mint, human error and mechanical imperfection could create a variety that would capture the imagination of collectors for decades. In high-grade condition, the 1937 D three-legged buffalo can fetch thousands of dollars at auction, sometimes even tens of thousands, depending on the state of preservation. Examples in mint state condition are treasures few ever see in person. Beyond the three-legged variety, the regular 1937 Buffalo nickels also hold historical value. The Philadelphia mint coins were produced without a mint mark and are common in circulated grades. The Denver and San Francisco issues are scarcer, especially in higher mint state grades, and collectors prize them accordingly. The design itself remained unchanged from earlier years, though by 1937 the wear problems were still evident. Dates would often be worn away in circulation, leading to countless dateless buffalo nickels that exist today. The cultural importance of the buffalo nickel cannot be overstated. It was one of the first coins that truly represented a uniquely American identity. The Native American obverse acknowledged the first people of the land, while the buffalo reverse honored the wildlife and the frontier that defined much of the national mythology. School children grew up with the coin in their pockets. Merchants and customers handled it daily, and for many, the design became a symbol of strength, resilience, and the American spirit. By 1938, the United States Mint decided to retire the buffalo nickel after its statutory 25-year run. It was replaced by the Jefferson nickel designed by Felix Schlag, which remains in circulation in various forms. To this day, the final buffalo nickel struck in 1938 marked the end of an era, but the coin never faded from memory. Instead, it grew in legend, with collectors treasuring its artistry and searching tirelessly for the rarest varieties, especially the 1937 D3-legged. Numismatists often reflect on the buffalo nickel as both a technical challenge and an artistic triumph. The design may have been impractical for heavy circulation, but its beauty and symbolism elevated it above ordinary coinage for the 1937 buffalo nickel. Specifically, collectors look not only at mint marks and errors, but also at strike quality, luster, and detail. Because the dies often produced weak strikes, coins with strong details command significant premiums. The buffalo nickel era also influenced later coinage and inspired commemorative issues. In the decades that followed, the image of the bison reappeared on modern nickels and commemorative coins. The Native American portrait has been echoed in medallic art and museum displays. The legacy of the 1937 buffalo nickel continues in these tributes, a reminder of its enduring place in the story of American money. As the years have passed, the 1937 buffalo nickel has grown ever more desirable. Collectors hunt for full-date examples with strong strikes and clean surfaces. The three-legged Denver variety remains one of the holy grails of error. Collecting stories abound of people finding them in old jars of change or inherited collections. Each discovery sparking excitement and wonder at how such a simple coin could hold such value. What if I told you that a small 5-cent coin minted nearly 90 years ago holds secrets of history, art, and fortune? A coin that carries the face of America's first people and the strength of the great American bison? A coin struck in the shadow of the Great Depression when every cent mattered to struggling families? A coin that in some cases was created with a mistake so unusual that it transformed an ordinary nickel into a legendary treasure, worth thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars today. This is the story of the buffalo nickel from 1937, one of the most iconic coins in American history, and one of the most beloved by collectors worldwide. In this journey, we will uncover its origins, the vision of its designer, the cultural meaning of its imagery, the economic backdrop of the time, the minting process that created it, the famous three-legged error, and the way this single coin has shaped collecting for generations. So stay with me as we step into the world of the buffalo nickel and reveal why the 1937 issue remains one of the most powerful symbols in all of United States coinage. The buffalo nickel was born from a movement in the early 20th century to beautify American coinage. President Theodore Roosevelt had called for a renaissance in coin design, believing that the money of a great nation should reflect its spirit and its identity. Artists such as Augustus St. Gaudens, Charles Barber, and James Earl Fraser played a role in shaping this vision. Fraser himself had grown up on the western frontier. He had seen Native Americans in person. He had admired the rugged bison that once roamed the plains in vast herds, and he understood the importance of linking a nation's money to its people and its land. When the buffalo nickel was first struck in 1913, it was unlike any coin that had come before it. The Native American portrait was not a generic figure of liberty, as earlier coins had shown. It was a powerful, realistic face marked with strength, dignity, and age. The reverse showed the mighty buffalo massive, heavy, and grounded, a reminder of the wilderness that was rapidly disappearing under expansion and industry.